The Seattle Mariners are one win away from going to the World freaking Series. And you know what? With the Mariners, it can never be easy. So we're going to talk about games 3 and 4 of this series that were played in Seattle that were not fun to watch. And then we're going to talk about game 5, which was potentially had one of the biggest moments in Mariners history. In it, we're going to give you guys our FanDuel favorites for game 6, and then we're going to talk about the rest of this series and what the Mariners have to do to take one of these games in Toronto in the Rogers Center. Thank you guys so much for watching episode 240 of the Hit It Here podcast, part of the Bleav Network and presented by FanDuel. And obviously, this is the Eugenio Suarez episode of the podcast. A lot of you guys probably saw it on stream. I was emotional after the game. I was just letting it all hang out. I'm crying. I'm like having trouble talking. And I think that like the emotions of just everything that has happened over the past month just kind of all hit me in that one moment. And for it to be Geno, to be such a good guy, it was incredible. But Joe, we still do have to talk about the first couple games of this series as much as this road homestand, I guess, as much as I don't want to. It's a homestand. It's technically a homestand.
It is a homestand. You just almost said road trip, which is just funny in the grand scheme of everything. Again, as much as just like probably everybody else that doesn't want to hear about this, we were in attendance for, at least both of us were in attendance for the first game. And then you toughed it out in the second game as well. Both of which bad, right? But you know what's good? If you leave us a 5-star review on your preferred audio platform for this podcast, do it right now. Like and subscribe as well. If you're not, 13-4, Colton, 13-4, I'm going to say it again out loud. I'm not actually. That was a joke. 18 hits given up by the Mariners pitching staff in this one. George Kirby, 4 innings, 8 hits, 8 earned, 2 walks, 4 strikeouts. He knows that he's good at what he does, so he doesn't like to stray away from it. Post-game comment from him, from the George Kirby mouth himself. If this is any evidence that maybe you switch up the game plan if something's not working, now's a great time to do it. But it doesn't matter. It didn't matter. The 5 runs that were scored by the Blue Jays in the third inning off of George Kirby would have been enough for the entire game. But then they decided to say, hey, let's just keep tacking on more. Like I said, 8 earned to George Kirby's tally. Carlos Vargas, like not a single pitcher in this game had a clean outing in any capacity. Vargas, 1 inning, 4 hits, 2 earned. Caleb Ferguson, 2 innings, 3 hits, 2 earned. Luke Jackson, 2 innings, 3 hits, 1 earned. That's the best one. And it's at the end of the game when everything just doesn't matter, which is where some of the Mariners offense also came, which was back-to-back solo home runs from Randy Arozarena and Cal Raleigh in the bottom of the 8th inning. But it started off so good, dude. Started off so good. Julio Rodriguez takes a Shane Bieber pitch deep into the evening, not the night. It wasn't quite that time yet. And then Jorge Polanco followed up with a double. It's like, okay, maybe we've got Bieber on the ropes. Wrong. 6 innings, 4 hits, 2 earned, 1 walk, 8 strikeouts. So it was all Blue Jays in this one. Vladdy was 4 for 4 after being 0 for 7 in the first 2 games in Toronto. 13-4, an absolute stomping. Mariners had a gut check in game 1.
Yeah, I mean, Kirk hit a homer. Addison Barger hit a homer. Andres freaking Jimenez hit another homer, by the way. Like, he was awful this year. Now, that's my GOAT from a few years ago, but he was awful this year, and he hit 2 big 2-run home runs off Mariners pitching in this one. George Springer homered. I mean, just an all-around piss-poor performance. What?
You said in this, like, because he does it again in game 2.
Right.
Yeah.
What? Anyway, so George Springer homered in this one. This was a situation where George Kirby versus the Blue Jays is an absolute nightmare matchup. George gives up a lot of contact. The Blue Jays make a lot of contact. And we have seen the Blue Jays offense versus the Yankees. They kind of pummeled them a little bit. And we knew coming out of the 2 games in Toronto that you weren't going to be able to keep that sleeping giant dormant for long. And game 3 versus Shane Bieber, the Mariners weren't able to do anything against a guy who has been pretty mid for couple of years. I mean, he was injured. Like, it's injuries have gotten to Shane Bieber. He
Yeah.
was one of the best in the game, but injuries have really gotten to Shane Bieber. That was a night where it's like, okay, you're up 2-1, right? Win the next two, you can still clinch a spot in the World Series at home in front of your home fans. The next day rolls around, and it felt so similar. Josh Naylor gets things going in the second inning with a home run. You're feeling good. You're on cloud nine. Luis Castillo looked great in the first 2 innings. And then it hit the fan, Joe. 3 runs given up in that third inning, unfortunately. And in the end, that's the only inning that really mattered because the Mariners, their offense did nothing. 2 runs on 5 hits in this one. It was awful. And they had some opportunities, some squandered opportunities. This was the game where you look at it and you say, if you lose this series, as of right now, that is the game you look at. The Shane Bieber start, it sucks, but again, you can kind of understand it. This game had everything wrong with it. The score was better. It was 8-2 instead of 13-4. But this game, in my opinion, was much worse.
Absolutely. The 8-2 scoreline, it on like when you think about the moments in this game that were rally killing or momentum shifting, Leo Rivas getting picked off at first base. You have Josh Naylor running into an out, the final out of the third inning when Geno checks in with an RBI base hit. It could have been first and second for Dom Canzone. Does he do anything in that situation? I would have preferred to find out instead of having the inning end. If, say, he does check in with something and the rally continues, etc., do the Mariners turn to Emerson Hancock and then he gives up 2 runs late in this game? I don't think so. It's a much different, the complexion of the game is much different if you don't run into outs or have some boneheaded mistakes, whatever. Taking Luis Castillo out, 2 1/3, 5 hits, 3 earned, like, I mean, I didn't disagree with the situation at the time. Is like, this is the moment where you got to go get your guy and hopefully Gabe can lock it down. Walked the first batter and then got out of it after that. And then he was left in to face George Springer, which is completely moronic. It's just it was comedy of errors. It felt like that were entirely preventable. From my perspective, I was live streaming the game. You were at the game. There was a lot of things that felt sure when it's 8 runs on 11 hits, back-to-back days giving up double-digit hits. It's always an uphill battle, but this scoreline could have been 6-5. Sure, it's a loss. Does it sting more if it's 6-5? Maybe. I don't know which one I'd prefer. Yes. Absolutely. But either way, it would have been a game that you'd look back on very, very sorely if the Mariners do go on to lose this series. And it's one that I think many Mariners fans and coaching staff and players alike would like to delete. But quickly, a word from today's sponsor, Delete Me. Delete Me makes it easy, quick, and safe to remove your personal data online at a time when surveillance and data breaches are common enough to make everyone vulnerable. The New York Times Wirecutter has named Delete Me their top pick for data removal services. And as someone with an active online presence, privacy is very important to me. I don't want strangers having data about me that I don't even know that might be out there. Take control of your data and keep your private life private by signing up for Delete Me now at a special discount for our listeners. Get 20% off your Delete Me plan when you go to joindeleteme.com/hit and use promo code HIT, that's HIT, at checkout. The only way to get 20% off is to go to joindeleteme.com/hit and enter code HIT, that's HIT, at checkout. That's joindeleteme.com/hit, code HIT.
I mean, frankly, I think if Luis Castillo could delete that third inning, he absolutely would. But did you hear about all the things that went along with it? So I was at the game, right? I couldn't see his face when Dan took him out of the game. But apparently he was kind of miffed that he was being taken out of the game in that situation for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And then after the game, post-game, nowhere to be found. Not in the clubhouse. Nothing. Not around to take comments. Nothing.
Interesting. I mean, it was
the grand
already
scheme of things right now. It doesn't matter, but
yeah,
still.
It was the second mound visit that inning, so he had to be taken out regardless. You can't not that's per the rule book. Like that's just how it has to happen. And maybe he would have preferred just for Dan to stay in the dugout, but I don't know. I think sure, if I'm him, I want to have that moment to try and get out of it. But if you implode, the game's over then and there. I mean, like you said, it already technically was. The third inning was the Mariners' kryptonite in the first 2 games at home for the American League Championship Series. But I didn't see it. I hope that there's nothing, like, I'm sure they'll talk through it, so they'll figure it out. They're adults. Luis is a veteran. Dan's the man. Like, I don't think that there's anything that should be long term. It, from Luis's perspective, separating himself, not wanting to take questions, I think that's honestly a reasonable thing. So he doesn't say anything that he might regret.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the perspective that I'm going to choose, and maybe it's a bit optimistic when realistically the situation does present itself as pretty murky.
Yeah, I mean it's one where, there's obviously plenty of talk about what could happen with Luis this offseason. Well, I'm sure we'll get into it, but for what could be his final start ever on the T-Mobile Park mound as a Mariner, like, I understand where he's coming from, but you can't blow the game right there. And what if he would have been left in, I would have been fine with it as well, probably. But yeah, just a terrible situation. That game itself felt like it could be a season ender. It truly did. Felt like everything imploded. All of a sudden there's some tension in the clubhouse potentially between, Dan and Luis and whatnot. And, it felt like there could be something there. But going into game 5, you put Bryce Miller back on the hill versus Kevin Gausman. A rematch of game 1. And once again, Bryce Miller delivered. 4 innings pitched, 4 hits, 1 earned, 2 walks, and 4 strikeouts. Some people will argue that Bryce should have kept going. And I don't necessarily disagree with you, but if you have the bullets in your bullpen available that the Mariners used, like he gave up 1 hit, it was the 7, 8, 9 hitters or whatever. Mm-hmm. Sure, maybe you let him get through the lineup and then face the top of the order. But again, Andres Gimenez has been a thorn in your side this entire series. IKF has been a thorn in your side this entire series, somehow, some way. Going to Matt Brash there, of course, we all know it didn't necessarily work out, but Brash got a huge strikeout there of Vladimir Guerrero Jr. 1 inning pitched, 1 hit, 1 walk, 1 strikeout. And yeah, I mean, Brash was good. Mm-hmm. It's just, that run that was given up was technically Bryce's.
The inherited run.
Brash was the inherited runner. Yeah. So I don't know. I don't really hate the move in that regard, but also note Geno hit a home run in the 2nd inning to give the Mariners the lead. And I was like, oh boy, okay. The Mariners have a big home run to give them the lead early.
Seen this
Are
one
we
before.
going to do this again? And thankfully, Joe, the Mariners held on.
Yeah, they did not allow the 3rd inning to bite them. A scoreless 3rd inning should have been a big signal. Light the beam. The 3rd inning, we avoided the big damage there in the 3rd inning. Was the Brash inherited runner Ernie Clement's hit to Dom Canzone? Or is that later with Brian Wu?
That was Ernie Clement's hit to Dom Canzone, I believe, was with Brian Wu.
Okay.
Or I don't remember now actually how it happened. I can watch the game recap while you talk.
I think because let's just put it out there. Awful throw from Dom Canzone.
Terrible throw.
Like what? I'm willing. Is it toxic? I think I could have made the throw online.
Okay.
I could have made the throw home.
No, that's toxic.
Online. I think I could have done it. I personally think I could have done it. 47,000, lights bright as hell. I'm firing a seed to Cal. I'm just saying. Okay? And it's Kirk running. It's Kirk.
Yeah.
All
the
you
literal
needed
slowest guy in baseball.
All you needed was a throw to home plate. And he threw it 10, 12 feet up the line. It ultimately doesn't matter, and I'm largely joking about my abilities to go do it. It is like I saw the throw and I'm like, brother, we gotta have better than that, please.
And if Victor was in right field, he probably makes that throw.
Probably, but thank our lucky stars, a Eugenio Suarez saved the game.
Exists.
Yeah, just like
the
Geno game.
But before we get to Geno, so that way it was a George Springer double that scored the run off of Matt Brash.
Got it.
Ball hit to the wall. But there's plenty of other heroes in this one. Cal Raleigh. I mean, before we even get to, obviously Geno had a home run early. Cal Raleigh, not only did he hit the game-tying home run that was in the air for about 6 hours before it finally came down, and I'm like, is this gonna get caught? Like,
Yeah.
you see Miles Straw there at the wall, like you didn't know, and you were just holding your breath because the ball was about probably gonna scrape the friggin' roof or something like that. But not only that, a bases loaded situation with one out and a little dribbler in front. Cal has the wherewithal to make sure he gets that ball before it goes foul and basically pounce onto the plate and then throw the runner out at first for a double play. A 2-3 bases loaded double play in this one. Also, Josh Naylor coming up with the big grab and doubled a guy off over at second base as well. So some pretty big defensive plays in this one. Randy Rosarena at the top of the wall catching a ball. Maybe it would have went out, maybe it wouldn't have. Just defensively, the Mariners played some sound baseball today, and they needed it because sure, the Blue Jays only scored 2 runs. They had 7 hits.
Mm-hmm.
There was traffic this entire game. And the Mariners felt like they were somehow skating around the big inning. They found a way. And that's what this team is built on, keeping the game close. And you get to the bottom of the 8th inning where Cal Raleigh hits the home run that ties the game off of Brandon Little, who, came in. They switched Cal to the right side. He pulls it into Edgar's.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, okay, we're right back where we started. Like, remember last game 5? All right, in the ALDS, Leo Rivas came up big in the 8th inning and tied the game at 2. And it's like, okay, so great. We got another 7 innings to go. And then but all of a sudden, the Blue Jays can't find the strike zone. A walk, another walk, and then Randy Rosarena comes to the plate. Sir Anthony Dominguez comes into the game, hits Randy on the elbow guard, and that brings up Geno. And you're like, Geno had a big moment. I just said, just don't strike out. Whatever you do, you have to find a way to drive in one. And Geno, I mean, man, he did exactly what you need. This is why you traded for Eugenio Suarez. All of the, pardon my French, all the shit that he has been swinging at for the past 2 months, I do not care. Because he just had potentially the biggest swing in Mariners history. In fact, I'm willing to say that's more important than the double. It's more important than the double. Yes, I know there's plenty of people that are going to get mad that I said that. That swing is more important than the double because it made it so you are closer than you have ever been to going to the World Series. The double was awesome. It sent you, you were down by 1. It sent you to the American League Championship Series. This got you one game away from the World Series.
Mm-hmm.
That Cal's drought buster and the double, those are the 3 biggest swings in Mariners history. Organize them however you want, and obviously recency bias plays a role here. That swing from Geno, I was in tears immediately, and I was thinking, like, he was rounding third base. I just said, I'm just so happy for him because he is dealt with, and he's always out there with a smile on his face. He's the most positive guy, in the dugout, on the field. And for him to come through in that moment, I know that nobody would have appreciated it more than him because he knew that he was brought in to help this team in the biggest moments. And he hasn't been doing it. And I know for a fact he would never say it, but that's definitely weighed on him over the past couple of months. And for him to come up big in that moment, I could not be happy. It couldn't have happened to a better person, a better player. And I'm so happy for Geno.
I don't think it's wrong to put it ahead of the double. The argument that I'm about to present, I think, will make people even more tiffed on it. It's like saying Michael Jordan's the GOAT versus LeBron's the GOAT, right? For its time, the double was the biggest hit and stood as the biggest hit for 30 years, or maybe 27 if you want to count Cal's. You clinched the postseason, you ended the drought. People want to put that into there. I don't think so. I think it's this grand slam and the double, which will likely be lauded as the 2 greatest and most impactful hits in franchise history. And the double stood the test of time for so long because there wasn't anything else. Now we have something else. Now there's something else to challenge the throne. Sorry, Polo's single. You're gone to history at this point. I'm sorry. You're lost to history because Eugenio Suarez's grand slam. I mean, I think it's much more important when it's all said and done. I don't think that people will forget the single, as it's being dubbed, but people are going to remember the slam a lot more because of the way that you were on the ropes. But same can be said for the Game 5, 15 inning, the marathon, the Battle of Seattle. We've gotten do not take what we're watching for granted in any way. An absolute barn burner, instant classic division series. This championship series, sure, some blowouts, big haymakers back and forth. The tight games have been amazing. Game 1 and Game 5, amazing. Do not take the type of baseball you're watching for granted for a singular second. Yes, there's going to be some trash in between, right? We don't want to remember Games 3 and 4. Oh, well. What you watched in Game 5 from Eugenio Suarez is nothing but there were fans made tonight that families watching the game, whatever, who knows, whatever. There were fans that were never fans of baseball. People that are never fans of baseball are now fans because of that swing tonight, without a doubt in my mind. It's not just history. It's this it's the butterfly effect. It's the ripple effect for what Geno's grand slam in Game 5 meant for the franchise, for the fandom, for himself as a player, and his family. I don't think it's never going to be quantifiable in words, I don't think. And I'm sure a lot of people feel that way about the double. There's so many great moments in baseball history. This is one that will stick with Mariners fans forever.
Yeah, you think back and it's you and I growing up, the double was the pinnacle. That was the moment in Mariners history, the double. And the fact that here we are, Joseph, we're talking about another one of those moments that in 20 years is still going to be shown just like the double. Now, the one thing I will say, with the double, you had the incredible Dave Niehaus call. Such a good call. And with the call, I Bleav it was Rick who had the call on this one, which was awesome. Rick did a fantastic job. But Niehaus, the way that Niehaus called the double was even that in and of itself was legendary. Where now, you have John Smoltz talking about, you probably didn't hear some of the things he said, did you?
No, but I saw a tweet saying can't believe Smoltz is still going in on Geno or something. I don't know. Just absolute buffoonery happening on the national broadcast, which is insane.
When Randy Arozarena got hit by that pitch in the arm or whatever, he goes, "Oh, you just hit a guy that can't hit." I'm like, brother just had the best season of his career. Are you stupid? Me, John Smoltz, me threw ball hard for a while. Great. Use your head. Use your brain. And same thing about Alejandro Kirk. He's like, "Oh, that guy's the slowest guy in baseball, blah, blah." And he's like, "Well, yeah, that is backed up by data." But shut up. Just shut up. I will never understand. We're going on a rant here. I will never understand why for the most important games for each team, you have some random ass announcers all of a sudden be like, "Yep, we're going to announce that." No, get one of the announcers from each team. That's the way it should be. You should have Aaron Goldsmith and insert Blue Jays announcer name here, and let them, and let them both cheer for their teams and let each one call, the offensive side of the inning. That's the way it should be. But unfortunately, it's not. And you mentioned how the AL side of the bracket has been a freaking movie.
Yeah.
The NL side, boring as hell. Oh, the Dodgers, whoop-de-doo. They're going back to the World Series. Who would have thought the team that is spending $350 million on a payroll is going to the World Series again? The performance tonight from Shohei Ohtani was incredible. 10 strikeouts, 6 innings pitched, three home runs. Geno's was cooler. Plain and simple, what Geno did tonight was cooler because you already knew the Blue Jays. You already knew the Dodgers were going to win that game. Geno, we had tight, tight
Yeah,
booties.
we were stressed, Colton. We were stressed.
That's the word. We were stressed. And this was, I mean, it's just incredible that we get to be experiencing this from the position that you and I are in. You know what I mean? And to be able to then immediately go live to hundreds of people and talk about it. And everybody in chat was like, "Yeah, we're crying too, man. Like, let it all out. We're crying too." I was bawling my eyes out. Incredible moment. But there's still some series to be played, Joe, including Game 6 in Toronto, where as of right now, there has not been a starter named for Seattle. I expect it'll probably be Logan Gilbert, if I had to guess. Yep. Trey Savage is on the mound for Toronto. Listen, you took care of business in Toronto twice already. I mean, every game is a must-win at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And for our FanDuel favorites, the Blue Jays are the favorite, but it's close. The Mariners, plus 100. The Blue Jays at minus 118. That's about as close as you're going to get it, because I think that the momentum's real. And we saw momentum swings from both sides in this series. And as of right now, the momentum, in my opinion, is in the Mariners' favor. Now, that can shift drastically. You are going to Toronto, where they were the best team at home in all of baseball. That is why I think that the Blue Jays are favored here, in my opinion, simply because of how good they were at home this year. Trey Savage also has been great.
Mm-hmm.
The Mariners have also already beat him in this series. Logan has to be better, and hopefully full rest Logan is better. But that is a game where I think that for the Mariners, if you can come out swinging, if you can get Savage out of the game early, you've seen a lot of these Blue Jays relievers already. And you've seen, I mean, Grand Slam obviously hit off relievers. Like, you got one off Gossman. Everything else was done against the relievers. You have to get the starter out of the game early and get to these relievers. And I think the Mariners can do that.
Yesterday's money line, so coming into the game 5 today, was closer as far as money line favor, or like odds, where both teams were minus money. It was like minus 112 and minus 105, like very close. Mariners still the favorites there. The first time in the series where the favored team won the game. Both times in Toronto, the Mariners were the underdogs. They won. First 2 games in Seattle, where with the Blue Jays, they won, and they were the underdogs. Being the underdogs back in Toronto feels right from my perspective of where the teams are at, with how good Toronto was at home all year, and how, I mean, frankly, mediocre, mid the Mariners were on the road. I think it's closer than what it was before, and from Game 2's original odds, because of what took place in Game 2. A 10-3 victory in favor of the Mariners, where Julio hit a 3-run home run off of Trey Savage. People would argue it should have been a 2-run home run. Okay, the score's 9-3 then instead of 10-3. Sad. The over would still cash in that department. Set at 7.5. I honestly think 7.5 is a great line. I would take the over in this one. It's hit every single game aside from Game 1. Just one of the offenses lights it up for Games 2, 3, and 4. A little bit closer. One swing really the difference maker there. And of course, coming off the bat of Eugenio Suarez.
Interestingly enough, ALCS MVP odds, they have Cal Raleigh at plus 240. I think Geno's the MVP right now.
Interesting.
He had 2 home runs in this one. He had an RBI yesterday. Like, yeah, Geno's had some rough ABs. I think that he's the MVP right now. There is only one Blue Jay on this first part of the list, and it is Vladimir Guerrero Jr. at plus 500.
I think
Makes sense.
George Springer probably, he's the next one once you click show more at plus 1,700. But I would probably put George Springer closer to plus 1,000. But it's hard when you've got such a clear favorite like Vladimir Guerrero Jr., who absolutely torched the Mariners in those Blue Jays wins. It's hard to argue the Geno recency bias a little bit, just because he single-handedly won you a game. But Cal's been great all series long, so maybe the longevity play there is where it comes in a little bit more of a factor. But I don't even know. I don't have words. Ended in 6. Going to a game 7 would just oh man,
I can't do it. Yeah. So Logan Gilbert, Trey Savage. We know how Logan pitched in Toronto, and thankfully the Mariners were able to get a win there in that situation. We know how he pitched. It wasn't great. We didn't even talk about Bryan Woo, who threw 2 innings today and gave up a run, hit George Springer in the knee, which also, just so we're clear,
don't boo
a player that gets hurt. Like, shut up. Even if it's George Springer.
Trust me, we booed him plenty when the Mariners were getting dog walked 13-4.
Oh yeah.
But if he's injured, don't boo him.
Yeah, like that's there are some things bigger than baseball. That's one of them. Do not boo a guy for getting hit. We do not condone that. So there were Blue Jays fans in chat tonight that were like, yeah, we're okay if the Mariners win, but heck you guys for booing Springer. It's like, listen, we don't speak for those people, Yeah. But anyway, Bryan Woo going 2 innings in that game. I don't know if he'd be good to go on Sunday if you need him to, if Logan goes short. But if you can get another couple innings out of Woo, I mean, he looked good. He looked like surprisingly, he was up to 97. Like, he was dotting a little bit.
I think he's
I think he should be. I don't know how many pitches exactly that he threw tonight, but nonetheless, I think that Bryan Woo, there's an option to have him in there. And please don't let this happen, but if we get to game 7, I don't know. Because if you don't use Woo in this game, do you start him in game 7? Like, probably. I don't know. Or do you go back to George, who was awful? Or is it Luis, right? Like, who was also equally not that great? I don't know where you go in game 7, but it is all hands on deck. If, and please, for the love of God, do not get there. If you go to game 7, there's a good chance that you're going to need every single person in that bullpen.
Woo threw 28 pitches in game 5. I imagine if he pitches in game 6, it'll just be for an inning. The off day helps. I think definitely helps the rest there. Everyone should be available in game 6. Game 7, if necessary, I think it will be started by George Kirby. And you probably look at Bryce Miller, who only threw, he threw 56 pitches. Yeah, it's 2 days rest. I think he should be able to throw.
Out of the pen if you need him.
Out of the pen if you need him. George Kirby, Bryce Miller, Luis Castillo should be some of the bulk there if need be. Woo, I think, in back-to-back games could throw 1 inning each, and I wouldn't be surprised. Of course, he's not necessarily geared for that, so if he pitches in one, I don't know if I'd expect him in the other. Hopefully you just don't need to use him in game 6. Hopefully you don't have to worry about that scenario. Because, again, all your big leverage arms should be available. Munoz, Brash, Spire, Bizardo, I think all pitched relatively decently in the latter 3 games. Games 3, 4, and 5. You didn't have any huge big moments like the Detroit series where Spire, cement mixer right in the middle of the zone, blow up inning, Bizardo blow up inning. Vargas, he's looked good in his back-to-back outings. Like, good enough.
Yeah.
I think good enough. It's not pretty, but he's got good enough stuff, I think, to be he's the 5th man out of the pen at this point, unless you include Bryan Woo, which You will at this point. So maybe I guess he's the sixth man, and that like Logan and any 3 or 4 combination of those 6 names, I pray and hope it just gets it done in 6. You need better starts. You got it. Just out of Bryce Miller in this series. It's just been Bryce.
Yeah.
Thank everything for Big Tex, Mr. Courtesy Laugh, because without him, we would have lost this series already.
Oh, series would be over. Season's done. Yeah.
And he just need to take whatever Bryce is doing, and Logan needs to learn how to do it.
Yeah. I mean, Bryce has been, fastballs top of the zone again, and we talked about this in his last start. Like, for the love of God, if George Kirby pitches and just does the same thing, I'm going to lose my mind. I'm going to lose it. Oh, I know what I do well. I don't care what you do well because you didn't do it very well. You're not executing, what have you. Listen, let's not get into semantics here. Win it in 6. As of right now, the Mariners, after their win today, are now over 50% of the way to a World Series trophy through the playoffs. That was their 6th win. You need 11 wins to win a World Series trophy in the playoffs. You are over 50% of the way there. 1 win. I mean, as of right now, this team is the greatest team in Mariners history. By default. By default. Suck at 95, suck at 01. And you guys can argue in the comments all you want. None of those teams made it 1 win away from a World Series.
Live look at them arguing in the comments.
Yeah, arguing with a wall.
Yeah, literally arguing with a wall because it doesn't matter.
and like you look back and you're like, oh my God, that's Griffey and Buhner and all those guys. In 20 years, you're gonna look back at this team and you're gonna say they had Julio, they had Cal, they had JP, they had The Rock. Like, it's gonna be the same. Don't give me that. JP is the best shortstop in Mariners history. Longest tenured, anyway. A-Rod is better, but longest tenured.
I get your point.
Like, you're going to look back on this Mariners team and say, yeah, like, they had some freaking dudes. There's probably 3 or 4 Mariners Hall of Famers on this team right now, right this very second. Mm-hmm. And we're watching it. And just like 95, just like 01, similar story. You just have to enjoy it. You are 1 win away from doing something this franchise has never done in its 48 years of existence. 48 years. They've never done this. Incredible, man. Just an incredible moment to be a Mariners fan. I'm trying to take it all in. I'm nervous. I'm excited, but I'm also just trying to live in the moment, and I hope that you guys are too. But that's going to do it from us here on episode 240 of the Hit It Here podcast, part of the Bleav Network and presented by FanDuel, and go frickin' Mariners.